Hey everybody and welcome back, or should I say hey neighbors and welcome to the CLAW channel. If this is your first time on this channel, remember to give this video a great big thumbs up, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Turn the light on. Make sure that your notification bell is lit. Ding, ding it, ding, 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 ding. Make sure you ring that thumbs up, that bell, notification bell, thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, tell everyone you know because we're doing great things on this channel. I am so excited to be here with you all on this day. I have been hearing this is just a little different what we will do this evening on the live, and hopefully you all are enjoying what we will do. Let me just tell you, before the live started, there was a start before the live. So I've been trying to get on here for just a little bit of time, but we're not going to take too much time over there. If you are in the building, please comment in the comment section below and let me know who's here with me so that I could properly address you, knowing that you are here with me. Who's in the building? Thumbs up on the way in. My moderators are here. Please welcome everybody in. If you clicked on that thumbnail, you know what we are talking about this evening. Whew, I want us to just have a blast here. I want us to just have open dialect as we're talking about the things that we're going to cover on this day today. Hey, Vicky's World, so good to see you. Peace and blessings to you as well. If you clicked on this thumbnail, you know, I gotta just sit back for a second and look like this for just a second, because so often we get caught up in so many things. Vicky's World had to sneak in real quick for her. So glad that you're here, Vicky. I won't be loud. I'll be just low key today. We are going to talk about just a few love languages. And that's why the what is where, because why so many times we get caught up in so much stuff. There's so much going on in our relationships. I can't see any thumbs up or any high fives or any amens there, because I know I'm not the only one that is still, well, I am married. I'm in a committed marriage. And through the years, there has been so many nuggets of truth that I've gained from my pastors, I've gained from my parents, I've gained from just meeting other people, and they have some nuggets of truth that they've given, to me. Now, this book, my mom actually told me about this book, and I was on the prowl to find this book because I wanted to find out what it is. I know you're saying, well, what are you talking about? I want you to stick around just a little bit more so we can talk about what I'm talking about. Finding out what is the what. What is it? What exactly is it? What are your love languages? There's sometimes we get into relationships, dating, or marriage, and we don't understand or know what the love language is. So, not just dating or marriage, we have love languages with our children. There's a love language with your pet. There are love languages with the parent, between the parent and the child, or the child and the parent. So, our love languages is what we're talking about today. So, I wanted to just come in and just kind of I don't want to rush through it. I want us to take our time so that we can properly address what our what is, because we need to know what our love languages. There are five love languages. And so I'm going to just tell you what they are. And in the comment section below, if you can, or if you know of someone, you don't have to say it's you. Um, just chit chat with me. One of the love languages, and I'm going to show you the cover of the book, and make sure that you are able to be on the same page as I am on, because I just want us to find out what the what is. What is the love language? One of the love languages of the five. The first one is words of affirmation. The second one is quality time. The third one is receiving gifts. The fourth one is the acts of service. I'll go into detail and talk about that. And then the fifth one is the physical touch. So this is where we're finding out what is the love language? What is your love language? Yeah, that's just a moment to just pause and just kind of breathe, just kind of pull it in, because we have to know what our love language, what it is. Do you know what your love language is? Did you know that there are five love languages? There are five. So I want to just come in. I'm going to take my time and just share this with you. Vicki, thank you so much for being here. So this book opens up with this guy talking about it. And if you don't have the book, I said I was going to share it. If you don't have it, this is the book. You want to make sure you have it. This is a hard copy book. I've had this book far more than 16, 17 plus years. And yes, this book is definitely a must buy, a download. You definitely want this book in your library because you do. You want to find out what your love language is. So I was just, this is something that God has been placing on my heart as well. And I'm like, I have to listen. I have to hear and do what he's saying because there's a reason behind why he's saying what we need to do. Is it possible to have all 5 love languages? Can you be a combination of, let's look back at them because I want to tell you what happened to this guy because he was married 3 times. Quality time, no judgment for the marriage of 3 times. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. Those are the 5 love languages. Can you have all 5? Are you a combination of 2? Could you be 1 and 2, like words of affirmation and quality time, or 3 and 4, receiving gifts and acts of service, or 5 and 1, which is physical touch and words of affirmation? You can definitely be a combination. In fact, you can also have all 5 in 1. Let me get to the comment section. The Gibson is saying she has all 5. And I believe that we can have all 5 love languages active in our relationship. So in the book, the author is writing and he's sharing about him being on a plane and he's on his way. He's in between Dallas and New York, somewhere hovering in between the two. And this guy starts just chit-chatting with him. And he doesn't know who the guy is. The guy doesn't know who he is, but he's just randomly talking. Sometimes we can attract people and they just start sharing, telling you more things than you wanted to know. But he goes in and the guy is just literally telling it all, saying how he's been, of course, as I stated, in these relationships. And the first relationship lasted a little bit longer than the others. However, he ended up all of his relationships end up in divorce. And he's trying to figure out why. Why did all the relationships end up in a divorce? Well, as I was looking over it and I was trying to figure out, well, how exactly and why exactly did his relationships end in a divorce? I was reading and I noticed that he said what he was saying to the wife, to all of the wives, all 3 of them. He's saying to them the same thing. Oh, you're doing such a good job. Oh, you're so good looking. Oh, all this, you're so smart or you're so patient. However, he's not going into what they need. So the first wife, he has the audacity to say to her that the primary reason for her wanting to get married is because she wanted to have babies. Really? You say that's the primary reason? Like that's the only reason that I wanted to get married is because I wanted to have a baby? So his wife responds back like, really? Do you think that I wanted to be a 24-hour nurse? Like, I'm not even receiving help from you. You're not even helping me. So no, I didn't sign up for this. This is something that we came together and we made, a person that we came together and we made. It's not a mistake, but this is just something that we came together and made together. But you aren't here. You're not being present. And what she needed was she needed his presence. Now, she needed him to be there. She needed him to physically be there, which would mean she needed, right, Vicky? She needed not just words of affirmation to tell me that I'm good looking or that I'm intelligent. She needed number 2. She needed quality time. Now, this is something else that was just amazing to me is because I was looking at my own marriage and my own relationships. I said relationships with people. And as I was looking at my own relationships, I'll just say with my marriage, I was looking over and I'm thinking like, okay, well, I know what my five love languages are. We've been talking about this for several months. I know what my love languages are. He knows what his love languages are. As I was reading in the book, the author, and I was just, just going back over, refreshing, the author is saying basically in early childhood education, basically the way that you are raised is the way that you respond in love. That kind of determines and defines the way that you respond in your love language. Now, I know there's going to be somebody in the comment section that says, like, I disagree, or somebody that's probably in the bushes that's saying, I don't agree. Well, come out of the bushes for just a second and say why you disagree, because I feel that that is true. I feel that a lot of times that your love language can be determined and defined and developed as you are growing as a child in your home. If you grew up in a home where you all embraced, or mom said to dad, like, hey, you look nice today. Or and mom came to me and said to me, well, hey, I like the way you have your hair, or I like your earrings, or I like your outfit. You have a pretty smile, or you have beautiful eyes, or that was a great idea. Those are words of affirmation. Many times when we're in relationships, and it's not so much of like, oh, this was he was from a home of a single mom, or she was from a home of a single dad. Nothing to do with that, because you can still receive words of affirmation from a single parent home, or a home that has both parents, or whoever is raising the other person. It doesn't have to meet with the person that's in a parental figure, a parental position. So he said to her that was the main reason. So I went back over and I'm looking at how I was raised. I'm looking at my upbringing. I'm looking at how my parents responded, how my parents interacted with me, which goes in to say how I will interact, because that's what we do. When you're a kid, what you see is what you mimic. Now, I know, again, we're not going to have everybody to be on the same page, and everybody's just not going to agree with that. And that's quite all right. We all don't have to agree, but this is true. Really, a lot of times the way that you are raised is what you mimic. So if you look at children, when children are at play, and most of the time some kids want to play mommy and daddies, or kids want to play, and I say mommy and daddies, when I was a kid we played mommy and daddies. The dad left to go to work, and then the mom was home and she was cooking and she was cleaning and she's taking care of the babies and all this stuff. That was mommy and daddy. So mostly dirt pies, dirt cakes, mud, sprinkled leaves and bay leaves, all that good stuff. So that was what consisted. That was what our play consisted of, because that is what I saw. Now, that was in the home that I was raised in. So there was lots of hugs, there was lots of affirmation, good job. There was correction, of course, as well, but there was lots of help in our home too. So my mom cooked, as well as my dad came in and he cooked too. My mom did laundry, as well as my dad came in and did laundry too. So what I'm saying that to say is they helped each other. So that is acts of service. Lots of times I know I've had relationships before being married. Let's just say dating in high school or dating in college would be a great example. And you see you need help, because you're so oftentimes we're so independent. Sometimes we can be independent. This can go either way. Sometimes some people don't know when to help or if they can help, because we won't say either that we need help. So there we go in with the five love languages. So as he states this, his relationship, all of the relationships ended in divorce, because he didn't know how to. Hey, Lisa, so good to see you. Grand Rising, everybody. Lisa saying, Lisa Black's in the building. So good to see you, Lisa. Hopefully you had a great day. We're just in here talking about the five love languages. So then when we are interacting with our kids and others, we will see the same thing displayed again. Are you a person that comes in to affirm? Are you the one? I know if I'm out and about, and this is the truth, if I'm out and about and I'll see someone just there getting out of their car, if we're at of course, a social distance, I will say it too, like, she has a cute haircut, super cute haircut, or I like your boots. That's you're just talking. You're talking, but I'm saying the truth. I like your boots. I like your hair. I don't have a problem to say if there's something about a person that is admirable. I will say, "Yeah, I like your shoes. I like what you said." So that is the love language. So the guy is asking this question. I want to know if you all have been there. He wants to know what happens to love after the wedding. He's like, well, before we got married, oh, peace and blessings to you. Vicky's World is saying this to D. Gibson as well as to Lisa Black. Vicky's World is speaking to you, D. Gibson and Lisa Black. He's asking what happened to love after the marriage. We got into this marriage, and now it's just like everything was great, and now it's all fizzled down. So he's trying to ask what happened there. And I feel like what happened in that relationship is you give your all in the beginning. Disagree or agree in the comment section. It's open forum. If you want to disagree, then say why you disagree. Why do you disagree? But I feel like when you're entering into a relationship or entering into a marriage, sometimes we're giving the best us that there is, because sounds like there was never, right, Vicky, it did sound like there was never any love. It sounded like he was really infatuated in the beginning, because he said that it fizzled down after they got married. He said everything was sparks and fireworks before they got married, but now that you've gotten married, it's not that way. So that would make me wonder why and what happened. And I would say the same thing too, that maybe you weren't in love, or maybe you just didn't know your love language. Because as I hear him saying what he's saying, and I'm reading over this in the book, what he's saying is every time they said they needed quality time, his response is always a word. He's always saying how beautiful they are, or how intelligent they are, or how positive they were. And he was marrying them for physical touch or attributes. However, it wasn't the quality time. So Vicky's World is saying here, lust can fool you if you don't know what you're really looking for. And that's a great point there too, Vicky's World. That's a great point. Because a lot of times we enter into relationships, friendships, marital relationships, dating, and I'm trying to find the word, but we're just looking for, I don't know, sometimes we're running away from something or someone to enter into a relationship, to define ourselves based on the relationship. Do you think that sometimes we can be in a relationship or running from something to be defined by the relationship? Hey, Weekend RV, and it's so good to see you. Do you think that we enter into relationships sometimes to define who we are, who we want to be? Because I feel that as he was saying what in the book here, he said he operates a successful business and he doesn't understand. So he's talking about what he does. He says that in here he was relinquishing his hopes of getting a nap. This is the author is saying that. You believe it, Vicky's World? He says that he's been married 3 times, and each time it ends. Somebody ringing my doorbell. He says each time it ends in a divorce. I'm sorry. What his love language is may not be what she needs. You know what, Lee Gibson? I totally agree. I agree with you. Hang on one sec. Right. Vicky's World, it is a big part. Oh my goodness. Okay, so my screen was freezing. Okay, give me one sec. Let me try to get him quiet. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. So yes, that's I don't think that was what he needed. Weekend RV is speaking to everybody in the live as well. My screen froze as well. So he says he's been married 3 times, and each time it was wonderful before we got married, but somehow after the wedding, it all fell apart. All the love that this is live, I'm telling you, all the love that I thought that I had for her. Oh my goodness. Hang on one sec. Okay, I'm back. I'm so sorry about that. He wants some love too. Let me just take a pause and just say this for just 2 seconds. So the kids across the street are ringing the doorbell at the house because they wanted to interact with him. So that's their love language. And yes, Vicky's world, I'm gonna have to I'll bring him on camera one day so that you all can see him and be formally introduced to him because he's a whole handful in himself. He's just huge. So Lisa Black is speaking to you, Weekend RVing. He does want some love, and that's what they're coming over to do. They're coming over to take him, but he can't go out right now because I can't. He can't. He's got to stay home. Stay home with me and social distance. So he says that every time it ended in a divorce. So he says that he's an intelligent person and he operates a successful business, but he doesn't understand it. So do you think that he is looking, and I hear what you're saying to Gibson, that the love language that basically he's speaking is not what she needs. So do you think that you can be in a successful relationship with someone and not speak the same love language, but have a proper relationship? That's for anybody in the chat. Does anybody believe that you can have a successful relationship and not speak the same love language? The Gibson is saying hello to everyone. Sometimes what love language they have is not what you need, but it's all they've been taught to have. Biggie's one, I agree with that, D. Gibson. I totally agree with you there that that is all that they've been taught to have. So then Biggie's world is saying maybe he needs to understand what his love language is. So so are we saying that the relationship, his relationships could have continued on had he understood what their love language was? Because if we look at this, and let's just take a view at this, if we look at the relationships that we have with, let's say, our kids or our family members, could we say, based on that, are we speaking their love language? Are we giving them what they need? And this really struck a chord for me. Do you have to teach the love language? Do you have to teach the love language? Let me go back to it. Do you have to teach the love language that you need? Okay, so you're saying you do. You have to teach the love language that you need. Are you stating that, D. Gibson, or are you asking that? Because I think you're saying that we do need to. Everyone, please look over and make sure that you thumbs up the live on your way in. That we do need to say the love language that we need. Because I think if you don't say the love language that you need or try to teach the love language that you need, I don't think you're ever going to get it. I mean, you may disagree with me. Anybody, you're free to disagree. Here, do you think that that's what it is? Because I've seen lots of relationships in the past, and I'll say, like, I won't even put it, I won't even say like in my family. I'll just say that people I've known people, and I know people who have relationships that work perfectly. And I don't know what their love language is, but they disagree, but they come to agreement. So do you think that you can teach your spouse or your children your love language? Is that something that can be taught? Can you teach a love language? D. Gibson says you need to teach it. They don't read minds, and neither do you. This is just changed. So we can all be saying, yes, it takes time to know each other. We all need to do our homework and change our, let me get back to it, change our approach as we go. So yes, you can be taught. So I agree that you can be taught. And no, we don't read minds, as you stated, D. Gibson. I agree, we don't read minds, but sometimes there's some gray areas that we don't know that they're not going to say. So if we never had this discussion, if Gary Chapman never wrote this book, how would we know that there is a love language? How will we know? How can we define? What can we do if you don't have this book? If you don't know about this book, or if you're just now finding out about this book, this is an outstanding book. This book is old, but I felt so impressed in my spirit to come on and share. So we're going to go through this 5 love languages. And I hope, because as I was reading over it and again and reading over it, I'm like, you know what? That kind of makes a lot of sense if you really tap into what you're looking for and what you're asking for. And that kind of determines a little teeny bit. If the person understands what your need is, then you're able to say. Because lots of times, I know this could be, I'll be transparent, this has been something that's happened as well. I needed help, but either I did not, I thought, well, I'm struggling lifting this bag, or I'm struggling lifting these books. Or this is just a really bad example, but I'm just going to make up an example. And I didn't verbalize that I needed help. Maybe he looked at things and said, well, she looks like she's being independent, so I don't want to jump in and crowd your space. Do you think that's something that you can do as well? Downplay someone's strength because you're trying to show your love language. Vicky's World is commenting as well. So yeah, I feel like sometimes some people may be displaying, and hopefully I'm making sense. Maybe you're trying to display what your love language is by helping, but the person that you're trying to come in to help is independent and they're strong and they don't want any help. Vicky's World is saying, you can be taught, because as you grow together, you learn the language, but I still believe you have to know what your needs are. And I agree. I totally agree that we do have to know what our needs are. So this guy in the book, so then we're saying we're coming to a table of agreement to say that the guy didn't know what his love language was, and he was looking for someone else to define what his love, or to tell him what his love language was. So based on what you hear, what I just shared with you, he said that he has a successful business. He's saying also that all the love he thought that he had for her seemed to fall apart to him, have evaporated. So he's fairly an intelligent person. He has a successful business, but he doesn't understand it. So he's giving all of this, but it sounds to me like what he's doing is that part is, I would say, acts of service. I think that what he's doing is he's giving things, because that's what acts of service is. He's giving. And I said I was going to go in to define what they were, to say, what it is. So the first one is words of affirmation, is giving quality time, words of affirmation, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So words of affirmation, like I stated before, you look beautiful today. I like your haircut. You smell nice. I like your shoes. Those are words of, you're very smart, encouraging words. That is words of affirmation. Of course, we know this. Okay, as you go. So Angie in real life. Hey, Angie in real life. It's so good to see you. Angie is speaking to everybody in the live. So good to see you, Angie. Hopefully you had a great day. Encouragement, here it says, requires empathy and seeing the world from your spouse's perspective. So we must first learn what is important to our spouse. So then that is the first thing. Vicky's World speaking to you, Angie in real life. Kind words, that's words of affirmation. Okay, so 5 love languages. Okay, so that was the first one. Oh my goodness. Quality time. I mean, that's just self-explanatory. Togetherness, spending uninterrupted time. Let me ask you this. Do you think that you're spending quality time together if you're in the same house? And this is, I know you may say this is a silly question, Sila, but everybody just defines it differently. Do you think it's quality time? Or, let me ask this. What is your definition of quality time? How about that? I'll just ask. What's your definition of quality time? What do you define as quality time? Can quality be quantity? So here it says togetherness, quality conversation, These are just definitions. Learning to talk. I'm going to just hit these and just say what it is. Come on, Angie, in real life. Spending uninterrupted time with your spouse, right? We can RV in the same, making time for romance. So then does that mean that the cell phone is off limits? Can you spend quality time to Angie in real life? You just, no phone or TV. Because I know someone who says that spending quality time, you can spend quality time as long as you're in the same place. Like you don't have to be together, but you're spending quality time together because you're in the same spot. So I just wondered what your definitions of quality time are. So the third love language is receiving gifts. Now, lots of times, some people are very bashful when it comes down to receiving gifts. Some people don't want to receive gifts. Weekend RVN says, haha, and yes, we have cheese and wine. Biggest World said, agreed. The phone and TV are interruptions. Right, because there's sometimes that you're saying some things and it's like a good point that you want to say, and like something's on TV and it's just like you're really not even listening to me because I see the glossed over look over your face. And that could be women can do it, men can do it, get in our phones or YouTube or what have you. Angie's saying it's hard to do putting the phone down. Yes, we can. Yes. So she's saying you have to have wine and cheese definitely there. So quiet, uninterrupted time alone, which means there has to be an intent, which means that means we have to plan. There's planning that has to take place in order for us to get quality time. Vicky's World saying it is Angie in real life. My husband owns his own business and that phone rings constantly. Sometimes you just want to hide the phone or throw it away. Love language, receiving gifts. Receiving gifts, I don't see anything wrong with receiving gifts or giving gifts. That I think sometimes when my husband and I had we first got married. I'll say we first started dating. When we were first married, it never failed. And this is just kind of corny. Angie in real life is saying yes to planning. But when we first got married, and I'm gonna just be transparent, my husband would come home from work, and I can't think of the name of the chips now, but you remember, you know the chips that come in the once you pop, you can't stop. I can't think of it, but you pop them, they're in a little container like that. I can't think of the name of the chips. Anyway, I like those chips. So it never fails. Like probably every week or every 2 weeks, they would come out. Pringles, yes, they would come out with a new chip. So my husband would come home and he would say, I have a surprise for you. I'm like, okay, what's the surprise this week? So he'd pop up with these chips. So there was the screaming pickle chips. And then there was a flaming hot chip. And there was a buffalo chicken chip. And there were all types of chips that we would try out. And that was like the highlight of one of the highlights for the evening when he came home, because that was just, it was gifts. He would just give gifts like that. Then I was on this huge seafood. Those of you that personally know me know I like seafood. Fun fact, I like seafood. So he would stop and pick up broiled shrimp. These shrimp were huge. Broiled shrimp in Old Bay season. Oh my goodness, it was so good. It was in a bag. Oh my goodness, this is like 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. He'd bring it home. So I'm like, yes, I'm ready to eat my shrimp. But he would never tell me that tonight I'm going to bring you shrimp. So he would just come in and just bring it. Angie realized that me too. And we can RV and say he seems like he is really sweet. He's really sweet. He would bring these things home and I would be so excited, like, yay, brought me shrimp home. What else would be like, really? For me, I was like, yay, because I love it. And it is Vicky's World. It's the little things. And so this is how we define and determine and understand what our love languages are. So that's being on the recipient's end of receiving the gifts, but we also have to give the gift back. I want to take a pause right here and say this. Sometimes, the other one is acts of service. So it's just helping out around the house, helping with the laundry, helping with the children, helping out with grocery shopping, doing the laundry, cooking, cleaning. So finding out, that is what acts of service is. So physical touch, it's obvious. We don't have to go any definitions here for physical touch, and that's the fifth love language. So he would do these things. And if you know me also, I will say I'm on nines. And so if I'm on nines, it's literally like I'm on cloud nine right now. The shrimp, the Pringles, like those things were really, really exciting. Now, okay, so I'm going to tell you this, and I'm embarrassed, but shh, don't tell anybody. Can I trust you guys to not tell anybody what I'm getting ready to tell you? Can I confide in you guys for a second? Because we're talking about the five love languages, but nobody judge me in here because this is a whole nother this is a whole nother level. I'm going to be transparent and share with you. And this is about me. Let me see what you guys are saying as well. But I want to know, can I trust you guys before I say what I'm going to say? Because I'm gonna be vulnerable right now. Um, Angie in real life says, I love when my husband does the dishes. I do too. And Vicky's World said it's the little things. Vicky's World said, me too. Vicky's World says she won't tell. Weekend RV says, spill it. Angie in real life is laughing, but she's not telling me that I can tell. Can I be transparent? Angie, you won't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. I'm gonna tell it. I want to see what we can. Okay, so we can RV is saying I can say it. Don't judge me. So my husband and I had been married. Tell it, Angie, tell me first that you won't tell. Sharing it out right now. Tell everybody you know. All right, so we had been married, and we're talking about the five love languages. But we were married at this time. I think we were married about 5 years. Hey, Minister of Music, it's so good to see you. We're just chit chatting and talking about the five love languages. D. Gibson says she has him on speed dial. Don't tell, D. Gibson, please don't tell. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna tell it anyway. Weekend RV, and do you have my back? Angie says no judgment zone. You won't tell. Angie, D. Gibson is saying she's gonna call my husband and tell what I'm getting ready to tell. All right, I'm gonna tell it anyway. So we were married. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. We were married about 5 years. And Vicky's World is speaking to you. Minister of Music. Minister of Music is speaking to you, D. Gibson. And Angie in real life is speaking to you, Minister Terrence. I'm going to tell it. Everybody remember the thumbs up on your way in. I'm going to tell it. So we were married about 5 years. And if you know me, then you know I like surprises. Um, I like to plan. I try to have things just set out if you really know me. So it was going. We were 5 years into our marriage, and my husband wanted to surprise me. So my husband went out of town, and 5 years married. Uh, he went out of town, and he bought me. It was our 5th year anniversary, and I didn't know, but I kind of got like a little hint somehow. Oh my goodness, about a ring. So I already had this beautiful, beautiful wedding ring already. How did I get the hint? You want to know? I'm going to tell you. So we went out of town and we were looking at some rings. So we were just looking. And then I tried on a few, and some that I really liked and some that I really didn't like, but some that I really did like. So I put the ring on my hand, and I'm going to get back to the book because we're talking about the five love languages and finding out what your love language is. Minister Terrence, have you heard of the book Five Love Languages? That's what we're talking about. So he goes out of town. We're out of town. I get back into town. I'm going to work. I'm doing my thing at work. And so he's talking to me about, like, what did you like about this ring? What didn't you like about the ring? I'm hearing his words, so he's listening to what I had to say, and then I let it go. So there's like 3 months down the line, and I'm like, okay, well, our anniversary is, going to be coming up soon. And I already have his gift and his present, but I just want to know Hello, husband. I really want to tell. Oh, do you guys see in the comment section what D. Gibson is saying? She's over here telling it. I didn't ask her if she was gonna, if I could, if she wouldn't tell. Hello, husband. I just want to tell you to hear the play state when you hear it by yourself. Oh, she's gonna let him hear it. She wants him to hear it himself. What's going on YouTube? So my husband, I didn't know that he got the ring. He didn't tell me he got it. We tried on these rings, but it was months and months. I get home, I kind of forgot about it, but it was kind of lingering in my mind about the ring. But then I also didn't want the ring to go away. This where the ring was, a state that was a whole nother state. So I'm like, oh, I didn't want it to go away. So I called I called the place to ask, hey, did they still have the ring? So my husband didn't know that I called to ask if they still had the ring there. He didn't know I wasn't telling. So I called on the phone and this lady answers the phone and she's like, yes. And I said, well, we were here like 4 or 5 months ago and I wanted to know if this ring was still there. And the lady was very rude with me. So as she was very rude, she's saying to me, we're talking about the love languages. You may say, well, what does that have to do with it? That's the gift. We're talking about affirmations and gifts and so forth. So this is what it has to do with the love language and knowing what your love language is. So she's very rude. And she's like, I asked if the ring was still there. And she was like, I'm not at liberty to give that information. So I was like, why can't she give that information? Then she hangs up. Like, really? Just hung up on me like that? So I didn't tell my husband. Start off by telling them this is your third diamond. Well, she's telling it. So I guess I should start off by telling it's the third diamond. Weekend RV, he is a good husband, as you stated before. So he's at the time he was replacing the wedding ring. We had 5 years, we were married 5 years, and I'm already getting another ring. So the lady hangs up on me. I'm like, really? So now I'm at work and I'm stomping around at work because that lady hung up on me. I called on my lunch break to just find out. I just wanted to know if it was still there. I wasn't dropping any hints. I just wanted to know if it was still there. She hangs up the phone. Months go down. I'm like, okay, I don't even know if it's sold or what, because the lady hung up on me, didn't say anything. So it's our anniversary. I'm fast forwarding. I'm skipping out a whole lot of stuff. So it's finally our wedding anniversary. And I'm taking off work. LOL, D Gibson, diamonds are a girl's best friend. Right. And my doctor said I need more carrots. So I'm walking in the house, and this coming Sunday, the 13th, our 16th year anniversary. Weekend RV is saying this coming Sunday, the 13th, is our 16th year anniversary, and we have 3 sets of wedding rings, and keep it coming. Gesture is nice. Yes. Happy anniversary, Weekend RV. And your anniversary is the 13th. And this is so funny. What things we have in common, Weekend RV, is because my wedding anniversary is the 14th, right after you guys. And it is 15 years. So I came home. My husband says that I walked right past the ring and I didn't see it. So he had the ring dangling in the hallway. He had it dangling on the light. I didn't see it. He had it hanging low so that I would run into it, and I didn't run into it. I guess this time I walked the other way, so I didn't run into the ring. So my husband sets up this lunch date, and I had a migraine like no other. I had a serious migraine headache, and I really didn't want to go out to lunch this particular day. But we went anyway. I pushed on and we went through and we went to lunch. So as we went to lunch, and my husband is like, yeah, so here it is. This has been at that time 5 years of us being married, and he's going on with his speech of the marriage and all this stuff. And matter of fact, if I do recall correctly, I had a migraine, and the migraine was so bad, my eye was just so light sensitive. So I had dark sunglasses on in the restaurant. My husband is talking. We get through food, the dessert. So the dessert comes over. I bring it out. And then all the people come out and they're like, well, happy anniversary. Like, yay, thank you so much is what I'm saying. My response is, thank you so much for the anniversary greeting. So I go to the restroom and I come back and my husband's like, oh, well, is your head still hurting? I'm like, yeah, it still is hurting. My head still is hurting. So he says, you want to leave? I'm like, no, we can just kind of hang out a little bit more. So he gets up and says that he's going to go to the restroom. So I'm sitting there like, okay. And I hear like a commotion behind me. And I turn around and lo and behold, there's my husband on his knee in the restaurant with the ring. I didn't see the one that he had dangling there that morning, but there was the ring, and there he is on his knee in the restaurant, and he's asking me to marry him again. Right, Vicky's World? That was so sweet. I was like, ah, the ugly cry. Oh my gosh. And inside, I'm feeling bad because my husband doesn't know that I called like months and months and months and months before, just wondering if the ring was still there. I didn't tell him, and I didn't want him to know that I was just wondering if it was, nor did I give him any hints about it. But I hear the commotion. I turn around, there he is on his knee, and he's asking me to marry him again. So as D. Gibson said, it was the third diamond. It was the third one. And of course, I did say yes. And the lady across the room is like, oh my gosh, he's asking her to marry him. Let me take pictures again. I'm looking like, we've already been married. Like, 5 years. We were already married. This is our anniversary. Like, come on. So she just, is she gonna say yes? I'm thinking, do I have a choice to say no? Like, we're already married. We're already married. So he gives me the ring, and it was very emotional. We had dessert, and so we went back home and we just hung out. So the point of sharing that is that I was very bashful. I am very bashful. If you do know me personally, I am shy. I don't like a lot of attention on me. And this is really being transparent. I don't like a lot of attention on me. Why are you on YouTube? Because God told me to come on YouTube. That's why I'm here. But he's a sweet guy. He's super, super sweet. And that was really a nice gesture, a nice gift, and a nice way to express your love to your spouse or to your significant other. And Weekend RV, and I love that you were saying about you guys having 3 sets of wedding rings, and we should keep the diamonds coming. Thank you so much for the anniversary greeting and wish to you as well, Weekend RVing. It was really sweet, and that from there on he keeps going. He does so much for our anniversary, for our wedding anniversary. He's always doing things. He's always doing things, and so it goes 2 ways. It's just not him doing. I do, we do, but we do these things together, and we like to see the response or the reaction of each other to see how the other responds. D. Gibson is saying he's a great guy with a wife that don't know what. See how D. Gibson does me? You see how I just get just slammed all over the just yanked off the bus. So the love language, once you have someone in your life that's speaking the same love language as you are, it makes things flow smoothly. So we know that there are several languages in our country, in our world, out of the country, all over the globe. And then there's dialects. So we could live in the same place and say the same thing, but they mean 2 different things, depending on where you are. If you're up north and you say this, or if you're down south and you say this, then these things can sound the same, but they have a different meaning. So we have to make sure that we're saying the same love language in the same dialect, the same way, so that we don't get the message twisted. So in the comment section below, can you tell me, you guys that are here, um, what is your love language? I'm still waiting because the Gibson says that she has all five. What's your love language? Any that are in the live, tell me if you know. I've shared what they are. What is your love language? Weekend RV, and what's your love language between you and your husband? Do you have all five? And so that one of the other spots in the book says here, we must be willing to learn our spouse's primary love language, the primary love language, if we are to be effective communicators of love. And I think that there's a lot of times that sometimes we don't want to be vulnerable, to be honest. I don't want to be vulnerable today. Tomorrow I might be, but today I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be, you know, transparent. I don't want to be out there like that. So I'm going to just go halfway. And when you go halfway, you have half of the information. You don't have the full, I want to say the full experience because you're going halfway. So here, Weekend RVN says food. Hubby cooks for me every day. So, okay, so then that's acts of service. Weekend RVN. So he cooks for you every day. When he cooks for you, do you tell him like, oh, this is really good? How does he respond when you say like, oh, this dish was really good, or I like this dish or whatnot? Because when we were Angie in real life says she loves when her husband does the dishes. So that's acts of service. So he's helping out. Vicky's World says that she likes it too. So then that's acts of services, helping, around the house. So, and then there's just something about it that just kind of makes it, I don't know, just a little bit better sometimes. They could wash the dishes the same way that you wash them, but it just kind of makes it just a little bit better because, they're getting in and they're helping you. D. Gibson says, my husband has all five. And yes, he does have all five. D. Gibson has all five. And I think that as you're looking at all five of the love languages and you're seeing how you communicate with each other with the love language, I think that it strengthens your language even better. I have a neighbor that lives around the corner from us, and she says that her mom speaks their language and she speaks their language. The children do not. And she says, but she feels so bad because the children don't understand when her mom is talking to her. The children don't get it. They don't understand any of it. And I was looking at it not in a judgmental way, but just looking at it like, that's kind of, I never expressed this to her, but I'm just sharing this with you all. I felt like, man, that's just kind of, a disadvantage because the children could really thrive having known their language, the language to talk, to share, to communicate with. So the more you use it, is the point, the stronger it gets. But the less times you use it, or the less likely that you use it, the more likely you're going to lose it. That's what I want to say. If you don't use it, you will lose it. D. Gibson, Weekend RVN is saying, yes, we kind of have a discussion what we both like to eat. And I agree. Finding out what the middle ground is, what is it that you like, what is it that I like, and then coming together on the same page to determine what it is that you like, and then making sure that we are doing, what the other one likes. So the guy is saying that was for the first marriage. He says that it was a gradual, he's asking, was there a gradual loss? And he says that he felt that as soon as the wedding ended, it was the wedding bliss, marital bliss just evaporated totally out. And he said he really thought that they loved each other, but the honeymoon was a disaster and we never recovered. Only dated 6 months. It was a whirlwind romance. It was really exciting, but after the marriage, it was a battle from the beginning. My first marriage, we had 3 or 4 good years before the baby came. And then after the baby was born, I felt like she gave her attention to the baby and I no longer mattered. So it was as if her goal in life was just to have a baby. And that was what I was sharing in the beginning, that she no longer needed him. So he needed to feel needed. He needed to feel needed. And then the author is asking, did he tell her that? And he says to the guy, yeah, he did. He says, but she didn't understand the stress of being a 24-hour nurse. She said that he didn't understand the stresses of being a 24-hour nurse. So then he says his last marriage, he really thought would be the one that would bring a difference in here. He says that he had been divorced for 3 years. They dated each other for 2 years. He really thought that they knew what they were doing. He thought that perhaps for the first time, he really knew what it meant to love someone, but he genuinely felt that she loved him. After the wedding, he says he doesn't think that he changed. He continued to express, so this is words of affirmation, his love for her as he did before in the previous marriages. He told her how beautiful she was. He said he told her how much he loved her and how proud of her he was to be with her, to be her husband. But a few months after the marriage, she started complaining pretty much about everything, about petty things, like not wanting to take the garbage out or hanging up my clothes. Later, she went on to attacking my character, telling me that she didn't feel like she could trust me, accusing me of not being faithful to her. She became a total negative person. Before marriage, she was never negative. She was one of the most positive people that I've ever met. This is one of the things that attracted me to her. She never complained about anything. Everything I did was wonderful, but once we were married, it seemed like I could do nothing right. I honestly don't know what happened, he's saying. Eventually, I lost my love for her and began to resent her. She obviously had no love for me, and we agreed that there was no benefit in our living together any longer, so we split. He says that this was a year ago. So his question is, what happened to love after the wedding? What do you guys think? What happened to the love? Is this experience common? Is this what many people are divorcing about because of this? Do they learn to live with the emptiness, or does love really stay alive in some marriages? So do we have to work to keep our marriage alive? And if you say yes, then what do we have to do in order to keep it alive? If so, how? Some are making friends, some are asking counselors, some are asking clergy, some are asking themselves. Sometimes the answers are clutched in psychological research and jargon. It's the almost I'm sorry, psychological jargon that is almost I can't even read right now. Comprehensible, sorry, incomprehensible. Sometimes they are clutched in humor or folklore. Most of these jokes and pithy sayings contain some truth, but they're like an offering an aspirin to a person who has cancer. This is what he's saying. Offering aspirin. So the desire of romance, love, and marriage is deeply rooted in our psychological makeup. Almost everyone, and we've seen this, popular magazines. I know I've seen it, and we used to pass one. I can't remember what it was when we would all come together, teachers, and pass this magazine around in the classroom, because there was a like a relationship. Do you guys remember seeing those relationship IQs or relationship tests that sees like how strong is your relationship based on what your answers are to the questions? And so that's what we would do, pass the magazine throughout, from classroom to classroom, to see like what are your strengths or weaknesses in your relationships. What are the IQ tests? So keeping love alive in our marriage is serious business, and it requires work every day. That's like there's a 24-hour job. I don't want to make it sound like negative, but it is like a 24-hour job, constantly working on yourself. Not saying like I've obtained, because I haven't obtained it. I'm working daily, every single day, to try to strengthen my marriage, to strengthen my relationships, to make sure that I am communicating, expressing. And there are some times that I will like pull into myself to think or to try to get clarity or understanding on either a conversation or something that we have experienced together. And that's in relationships, your children, each other, husbands, wife, moms and daughters. So here we're finding through all of these books that we're reading, and this is what this is coming to, all the books that we're reading, it's really about how we communicate. I can say the same thing that you're saying, but I can, elevate my voice in a way that I say it, and then it sounds like I'm yelling. But I'm not yelling, I'm just excited or passionate about whatever it is that I'm talking about. So here's like, this is what I was saying. How is it, sharing with you before? How is it that we read a magazine article, 101 ways to express love to your spouse, select 2 or 3 ways that seem especially good to us, try them, and our spouse doesn't even acknowledge our effort. We give up on the other 98 ways and go back to life as usual. So we try 2, and then we stop on the 98. D. Gibson is saying a lot of times one party wants to receive it all, but doesn't want to do the work to give anything back. And that's what it normally is. So one person wants to receive it and they don't want to do the work. Or vice versa. Somebody wants to receive it and they don't want to do the work. So then what can we do in there to decide or to decipher how the love language, or to make sure that the love language is effectively flowing through there? Because the answer to those questions, the purpose of this book is not that the articles and books that have already been published, but it's really on the inside of us. What are we doing? How are we talking? Are we communicating? Are we saying really what we want? Vicky's World says garbage is garbage out. Okay, garbage is in. Okay, garbage out. You have to want it to work. And I agree. We definitely have to want it to work, and one person can't do all the work by themselves. I read this book like 10 years ago, another book, Fireproof. Yeah, it was Fireproof. The Love Dare, that was the name of the book. So it was talking about like acts of service, and kind of similar to the 5 love languages, but it was basically saying that you're going to do these things. And even if you're not receiving, attagirls or attaboys, you're going to keep going. And I did those, and he did those as well. We did those. We were doing those before. But it was just sometimes we need to just, I don't want to just say spice things up, but sometimes we need to give a charge to our relationships to kind of like go back in. And hopefully, as I'm sharing this in the live, that you're not just sitting there like, oh my God, but you're really looking at it saying, really, when I go home or on my ride home, let me figure out what my husband's love language is. What's my wife's love language? Our children have love languages, pets have love languages as well. What is your love language? And then I'm looking over here that sometimes you can have one person that's outside that totally understands. I'm not saying understands your love language, but they understand what you're trying to say. Guess there's a book, His Needs, Her Needs. And so they totally understand what you're saying, totally understand what you're saying. And what we have to do is to make sure that that's the same way in our homes and in our marriages, that we are speaking the 5 love languages to each other. So there are so many. And right here, I love this because the author says in the book, that accounts for the magazine article. So he's talking about the mere fact that we're trying to figure out how many ways can we speak to each other? How many ways can we show that we love each other? He's saying this accounts for the magazine articles entitled 10 Ways to Let Your Spouse Know That You Love Her or Him, 20 Ways to Keep Your Man or Wife at Home, or 365 Expressions of Marital Love. There are not 10 or 20 or 365 basic love languages. The author is saying, in his opinion, there are only 5. However, there may be numerous dialects, and we were talking about dialects. Say the same thing, but just in a different tone. Here, the number of ways to express love within a love language is limited to only one's imagination. Limited only by one's imagination. So the important thing is to speak the love language of your spouse. I had the oh my goodness, transparent. I was on the phone yesterday, and I had to talk. I was sharing because I was taking care of some business, and I was talking on the phone. And the person on the phone, I tell you the truth, I'm saying the color is orange. I just said it clearly. What's the color? Orange. We're talking, and the response is, yeah, so we're talking about brown? No, the color is orange. It says at the end of the conversation, the color is brown. I walked away frustrated and annoyed because I was clearly saying the color is orange. The interpretation that they received, or whether they just weren't listening, was the color is brown. So frustrating. So when we're talking to each other, we have to make sure that the other one understands what we're saying. We understand what we're talking about. There's not a need for you to be upset because I'm telling you what my love language is. And that's because I love you and I want our love language to be on the same dialect. I want us to be on the same page. We may not see it eye to eye all the time, but I want us to have a clear understanding of exactly what it is that we're doing and our expectations. What are your expectations? And to make sure that we have identified what they are, as well as in our love language. And we do have to want that to work. The author is saying here, once you identify and learn to speak your spouse's primary love language, I believe that you will have discovered the key to a long-lasting, loving marriage. Love need not evaporate after the wedding. In order to keep it alive, most of us will have to put forth the effort to learn a secondary love language. So the primary love language is the secondary love language. We cannot rely on our native tongue if our spouse doesn't understand. And that was what I was saying with that other thing. The color is orange. We're talking about brown. No, we're not. We're talking about orange. If we want him or her to feel the love we're trying to communicate, we must express it in their primary love language. I'm going to share that again. We can RV and saying communication is key. If we want our husband or wife to feel the love we are trying to communicate, we must express it in his or her primary love language. So then that's what kind of makes things confusing, because, and tell me in the comment section what you think, because I think that if my love language is gifts, then I think that because I'm that way, you're that way. Usually we treat people the way we want to be treated, right? So the book is saying, yes, treat them the way they want to be treated, but we have to say it in their love language, not our love language. And I think that that's where the language barrier comes in greatly, because he's saying to me in his love language that he loves me. And I'm saying to him in my love language for me that I love him, but I'm not saying it to him in his, and he's not saying it to me in mine. So then that's how you can have a division in the love languages. The Gibson, it says, I have 43 years in the relationship. So I have a little more experience. The color is blue. What do you guys think about this? It's blue. I think that I agree, and based on our experience with our relationship, because you may be talking to a person that is angling it from blue because brown has blue in it and black has blue in it. And that's how we get to that shade So, but I think that that's just, and I agree with you, D. Gibson, having experience in your marriage or in your relationship, you know that the color is blue. And we have to come on that same page. What do you guys think in the chat? What are your thoughts? If we want him or her to feel the love that we're trying to communicate, we must express it in his or her primary love language. So then what's the primary love language? How do you find out what your spouse's primary love language is? I'll ask you that. Ooh, I just got the answer to this. And I kind of talked about that in the beginning there as well. I shared that about the primary love language. So if we're talking about primary love languages and what they are, how do you find out what your spouse's primary love language is? How do you find out what it is? I'm going to wait for you all to tell me. How do you find out? I don't want to be the only one talking, so interact with me. How do you find out what your spouse's primary love language is? Biggest World says, for me, time. In order to learn the love language is growth from learning. Ooh, Vicky's World, you're giving deep. These are like fortune cookie responses that you're giving, Vicky's World. Expound a little more. We Get Our Being is saying, I'll ask him so I get it right. Yes, ask him. And then tell me what he says. If my husband was here, I would ask him too. D. Gibson, 43 years in, tell me, how do you find out the primary love language? How do you find out what the primary love language is? And then tell me, tell me, tell me. And as you're looking over here, here the author is saying, I'm going to go back into it in a sec too. Seldomly, he's saying, seldom a husband and a wife. It's very seldom that a husband, and this is the beginning of the sentence, excuse me while I sanitize my hands. Seldom do a husband and wife have the same primary emotional love language. Emotional love language. We tend to speak our primary love language, and we become confused when our spouse doesn't understand what we are communicating. We are expressing our love, but the message does not come through because we're speaking what to them is a foreign language. What? Right. So I understand what you're saying, Vicky's World. Seriously, that is deep. So we have to grow and we have to learn and trial and error, watching, seeing, experience, getting it right the first time or wrong the first time to get it right the second or not. But just trial and error of getting it, trying to get an understanding of it. So I agree with you, Vicky's World here, experience and growing. Love language is growth from learning here. So he says, so they don't speak the same. So your primary love language comes in, and that was what I was sharing in the beginning too, is in the way you're raised. So the way you are raised is your primary love language, which is your dialect. That's what it's about. The way you were raised is your primary love language. So then you have to find out, how was he raised? And then that would be his primary love language. And to back it up right here, he's saying here, the author is saying, we have long known that in early childhood development, each child develops unique emotional patterns. Some children, for example, develop a pattern of low self-esteem, whereas others have healthy self-esteem. Some develop emotional patterns of insecurity, whereas others grow up feeling secure. Some children grow up feeling loved, wanted, and appreciated. They grow up feeling this way. Yet others grow up feeling unloved, unwanted, and unappreciated. The children who feel loved by their parents and peers will develop a primary emotional love language based on their unique psychological makeup and the way that their parents and other significant persons express love to them. So, I was going to say that earlier when we were talking about the orange and the brown, and then you said blue. D. Gibson says he could be colorblind. What does he enjoy doing? You said that your love language enjoys eating. So this is to you, Weekend RVing. What does he enjoy doing? Weekend RVing. What does your husband enjoy doing? So then that's how we are going to find out what it is. So then the other thing is too, how you grew up. That's how you're going to talk. Significant others in your life, persons in your life, express love to them. So then they will speak and understand one primary love language, feeling most comfortable with their primary love language. So then that's how we are growing it based on how we grew up, what we heard, how love was expressed to us. So that's how you determine what your primary love language is. What did you see or hear? And that's how you're going to develop yours. Now, we can unlearn that primary love language to make sure that our love tank is full. And we have to work on that. And that's what we're talking about here in just a open forum coming in to talk about the love language and how we can keep the love tank full. So when I was sharing about my husband with the chips and the ring and there's trips that I've planned and other things that trips I have planned, surprise cruises and trips out of town or out of the country, some that he knew of, some that he did not know of, and such that I've done. And he's done things, such for me. So we both work on making sure that the other's tank is full. And it's just like it is in your vehicle, in your car. And none of us ever go somewhere with and I'm laughing, with a empty tank of gas. My parents were in the car with me, like sometime last month. They were in the car with me, and I was running errands that day. As sure as my parents got in the car, the gas light bing on, and my dad looks at me and goes, "How far can you go with your gas light off?" And I said, "Well, it just came on, so we will go and get gas right now." And he said, "Okay." He's giving me that dad look. I'm like, oh my goodness, the gas light just came on. We're going to make it. I know we're going to make it here. But that's based on experience. Disclaimer, I don't practice to keep a low amount of gas in the car. The point is we have to work on keeping the tank full, not a half tank, a full tank. Because you never know. You're running errands, you're doing your thing and so forth. You can run out and deplete all the gas out of running and going and doing and doing. And before you know it, when it's time to give out, you're depleted because we didn't work on, he's depleted, she's depleted, we're both depleted because nobody worked on keeping the love tank full. So that's something that I think that happened in this guy's relationship when he's talking about what his wife was saying and how his wife was living and all this other stuff. I think it was that way because the gas light had already come on. Now this is off the grid with the book because the book's not talking about a gas light, but I believe the gas light did come on and he failed to notice as well as the spouse could have. And sometimes the spouse may notice that the gas light is on and the driver of the car is really not focused on it. Not until you end up broken down in the middle of the street and it's cold. D. Gibson says, that didn't happen in my life. My parents had 11 children and there was no love language. 11 children and no love language. So then what do you think their love language? You said you didn't. So then that means you didn't see one displayed, D. Gibson. How do you think that a person could find out the 11 children? How could they find out what the love language was? How did your mom find out from your dad what his love? How you're on the outside or you're in the inside, but looking, sharing with us, how can you determine what their love language was? Are you saying there's just flat out not one displayed to the other? And I think that we as a people, we thrive on, as humans, we thrive on, I'd say, the need to feeling needed. We need to feel needed. We want to feel appreciated. We want to feel loved. We want to feel admired. We want to feel valued. Seeing the same thing over and again. But we need to feel this way. And when we don't feel this way, the tank is immediately empty. That's not. So we have to make sure again that we're on the same page. We're speaking the same love language so that you have what you need and I have what I need. And then we have a cycle, not a vicious cycle, but we have a cycle that's going on that's displaying what our love language is. And this is so wild here. Here the author is saying in the book that there are thousands of books and songs and magazines and movies that are peppered with the word love is a many splendored thing. They're peppered with love. So then when we hear it, sometimes in hearing some of the love songs, the old fashioned ones, in hearing them, you really do. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. I guess you can say, what can make me feel this way? My guy. Um, we have to, so then that's what it is. Those are affirmation. Those love songs were affirming who we are, and that's a lot of what's needed. Sometimes we feel depleted because we don't hear enough what we are, who we are, that we're special, that we matter, that you love me, that I'm appreciated. And here we have people here. This guy's talking about this lady's name Ashley, who was at 13 years of age. Well, you have to read the book to find out about what happened to Ashley. But I'm going to just jump over to this other part of what happened. Ashley's love tank had been empty because there's several things that happened to Ashley. And Ashley's not anywhere in YouTube or any realistical spot here. Nobody that I know. I'm talking about Ashley in the book. Her mother and stepfather had provided for her psychological needs, but did not realize that deep emotional struggle raging on the inside of her. They certainly loved Ashley and they thought that she felt loved. Not until it was almost too late did they discover that they were not speaking Ashley's primary love language. Hmm. And this is something that she said. She says that when she was 6 years old, she thought that her father left because they had a divorce. She thought that her father left because he didn't love her. She said when her mother remarried, she was only 10. She felt now she had someone to love her, but she still had no one, someone to love her mom, but there was nobody to love her. So she wanted so much to be loved. This is Ashley's life. Then Ashley met this boy at school and he was older than her, but he liked her. She couldn't believe it. He was kind to her. In a while, she really felt love. And the fact that he didn't want anything else but just to be loved. He wanted that and she didn't believe it. That was because trust was broken. So meeting a physical need is not meeting the primary love language need. So D. Gibson says they never found out her mom was a housekeeper and a cook, and she makes your bills. She made sure the bills were paid. And she did the business of the house, and her dad kept the house fixed up. So mom took care of all of the children, the bills, the food, the grocery, and dad kept took care of like fixing things at the house. So then Melissa is just seeing from what D. Gibson is saying. So, and what I know, okay, so then D. Gibson, and what you know, what would your, based on your experience with your mom, what was your mom's love language to you? Because she shared, she cooked, she loved, words of affirmation. I know to the grandchildren, words of affirmation of how good they were, how sweet they were. You know, that just looking at it, that just makes us look at it. 11 children and marriage and still not knowing what the love language is. Here, the author is saying, at the heart of mankind's existence is the desire to be intimate and to be loved by another. Marriage is designed to meet that need for intimacy and love. Marriage is the desire to meet that need for intimacy and love. Wow. Hey, Nicholas White. So good to see you. Welcome, welcome. So some vehicles just run on regular gas and some on test and some on diesel. And others have to find out what fuels their marriage. And just looking at that, wow. Wow. And Vicky's World said this in the very beginning, having the feeling of euphoria. Euphoric, can't say it. Euphoric experience of falling in love. We have to determine and to not confuse those. So, Nicholas, we're talking about the 5 love languages and deciding and figuring out, understanding what it is. So here on YouTube, we hear a lot of, people liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, helping out a lot on YouTube here. And the words of affirmations are oftentimes found in, the comment section. D. Gibson says, I took a child development class and that developed a lot of stuff in my life. And that does clear up a lot of things that you may have not understood. Once you have those classes, then you have clarity on a whole lot more. Those child development classes, I'm telling you, they go far. And I'm grateful that I have my degree there, because as you do, I'm grateful that I did. I'm grateful that you encouraged me so much to go in and finish and to change my area of degree for school to what I wanted to do, to who I needed to be, from what I wanted to do to who I needed to be. So Mark Twain said this, and this is in the book, I can live for 2 months on a good compliment. If we take Mark Twain's literal 6 compliments a year, would have kept all of his emotional love tank in an operational level, excuse me. Your spouse's level will need more. So living with our husbands or wife, we need to give more words of affirmation. Vicky's World says, this was a very good conversation, Sheila. I think I'm going to utilize this as a couples exercise for my husband. Let me know how that goes, Vicky's World. Lots of Pepsi. lots and lots of Pepsi, and a cheese tray. So yeah, this is our couples. And you know something, Vicky's World. I was gonna share this. You kind of, you're making me pull the cat out of the bag a little early because I want us to go on this journey together, to better virtually, to better our relationships, and to be able to have a open forum that is safe for us to come in and to share. I didn't know what his love language was. And this is I'm like giddish in this right now because the way I felt when my husband would bring, of course I said the shrimp, and then bring the chips. There were chips out. That was like exciting. It was fun. And that went back like when we dated. When we were dating, we would go out and try this restaurant and that restaurant, and we still do that. But we have to go back in and make sure that we are filling each other's tank. We have to. You may get home, Vicky, and find that he has a 12 case of Pepsi waiting on you when you get home. Whatever it is that you like, they may have that at home. So we have to work on it. But how can you say you're going to work on it? I'm glad you asked. You start first. You start first. So Vicky's World said, "Ha! I'll be so happy." I'd be so happy too for you, and that will be a video right there. Watch time. But that would be a video. I'll be excited for you, and that just knowing that that's what they do. I know a couple. I'll say this, and I would watch their relationship, and this is a gooey story, so I want to share this with you. The husband worked outside of the home, and the wife was working, and she was a homemaker. And she retired, and then she's a homemaker. So the husband, around this time of year, the husband would come home. Not my husband, but this is this person's husband. And he would play this game with the wife. Now the husband came home every day, and there was like, he had an envelope. So there was an envelope. He'd say, "Do you want to pick the envelope, or do you want to pick whatever the prize is?" So it was like a prize, whatever. I don't know if he had it in a bag or not. No, this is factual. I kid you not, I'm not making this up. I saw this with my own eyes. He had an envelope every day, and then there was like a prize. So that he would ask his wife, "Which one do you want? Do you want to take the envelope?" It was every time around this time of year. "You want to take the envelope, or would you take the bag?" So the husband would come in the house, and we just set the scene, and he'd start his little game show music and say, "Which one do you want? Envelope or the prize?" And the wife would sit there, and she would say, "I'm going to take the envelope." And I would be looking over there like, "I would take the envelope. I would totally take the prize." And she would take the envelope. And so then the husband would say, "What you turned away was this remote control." Okay. So she was like, "Okay." And so then she asked for the envelope. And as she opened the envelope, that's where she would find like a gift card in the envelope for like $50. Or there was $50 cash in the envelope. And so then then there was always a third prize. All right. So do you want to use the envelope, or do you want to keep the prize, keep your thing, or try for door number 3, which no one ever knew what door number 3 was, but the husband did. So the wife would say, "I'm going to keep what I have." And then the husband would say, "Okay, good," because it was a Ricola. And so she won because she got the gift card. So I would sit and watch daily, right? So cute, Vicky's World. I would watch this couple. And that was one of the highlights for my day, because I'm looking and I'm like, okay, when he comes home, he has this envelope. And he has this, there's always, door number 3 every single day. And the wife would just pick the right one every time. The one time the wife picked the prize, and the prize was like some cookies or something like that. And I looked over, I was like, oh, you picked the cookies. Why'd you pick the cookies and not the envelope? And surely she lost. Well, she got the cookies. And the husband came over to her and basically said, like, because they're together, she wins every day. And he gave her the envelope. So she got the cookies and she got the envelope. And the next day, the game started all over again. And that was just the way it was. So I will say this, and that was true, factual, the facts, the truth. I kid you not. It's what I saw with my own eyes. And I thought it was so super cute. I thought it was really, I was getting lots of enjoyment off of seeing it those days, because I'm looking and like, okay, well, he's late. Because I want to see how the game's going to go. Is she going to win or is she going to lose? And I'm sitting over there in my seat, like biting my nails, like, pick the envelope or pick the prize, pick the prize. And what he was doing, and I'll say this in transparency too, those are my parents. That's what my dad did, the people that I was talking about. My dad did that with my mom. So he worked on keeping her tank full, and she worked on keeping his tank full. We would leave and do run errands, and she'd come back. There's something, she has something special for my dad. Or when we'd get back from errands, he'd have something special for her and she'd have something special for him. And they're both working on making sure they keep, their tanks filled. And I thought that was just really amazing. Just great as an adult, to see my parents are still like that with each other. They're still, loving and such for each other. So here, there's a warning and a disclaimer. Let me put this disclaimer out. I'm by no means necessarily professional. Um, Here, I'm sharing with you based on my opinion and what I've read, the research that I've done on the book. Here is the author's warning. He says, warning, understanding the 5 love languages and learning to speak the primary love language of your spouse may radically affect his or her behavior. People behave differently when their emotional love tank is full. Let me read it again. Warning, understanding the 5 love languages and learning to speak the primary love language of your spouse may radically affect his or her behavior. People behave differently when their emotional love tank is full. So there you have it. Before we examine the 5 love languages, however, we must address one other important but confusing, we talked about that, phenomenon, the euphoric experience of falling in love. So here you have it. We are here and we're going to jump right into it. And we have. So this has been our couples retreat. So I know I have husbands and wives, because I know some of you on YouTube are married that have been in the live. And if you're thinking about getting married, you definitely want to, if you're just coming into the live, you're thinking about getting married. If you are married, get in here and check out the book, The 5 Love Languages. So I want to put this out, and I'm going to go ahead and just get ready to close, because Vicki Girl has said it in its entirety. This is our couples retreat, and this is what we're going to call it, the couples retreat. So if you look over at the playlist, I'm going to go ahead and create a couples retreat playlist over here. And this is where we're going to just cover the 5 love languages. I want you to check out the book. It's on Audible. Hashtag not sponsored, but Amazon, if you'd like to sponsor the CLA channel, you can reach out to me over here and let me know. But check out the book. It is on Audible. It's available on Kindle. You can have the hardback book. Check out the 5 love languages. Some of you probably already have it. I know I've had this book 100 years. And this is by Gary Chapman. My notebooks and notes falling out of here. Gary Chapman, 5 love languages. Find out what your love language is. And then I'm going to go ahead and just label this couples retreat. So go back in, share it out, tell others that you know. We're going to be safe over here and be able to help one another. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we are speaking and understanding the primary love language of our spouse. So D. Gibson says, can we play this game without Meeks now? Tell me again what you're saying. Can we play this game without Meeks now? There might be a slight typo. Can we play this game without Meeks now? Tell me one more time, D. Gibson. Sounds like just a slight typo. So we just covered the words of affirmation. We know that that's a good job. You look nice today. If you're getting in here now, we just covered the first love language. There are 5. We've just covered the first one. So we have 4 more to go. If you're sharing out the live, kind words. Love is kind. Then if we are to communicate love verbally, we must use kind words. That has to do with the way we speak. The same sentence can have 2 different meanings. I kind of said this in the very beginning, depending on how you say it. The statement, I love you, when said with kindness and tenderness, can be a genuine expression of love. But about the statement, I love you, the question mark changes. I love you, I love you, I love you. The question mark changes the whole meaning of these 3 words because you're questioning, do you love, or you're making a declaration that you love. Sometimes our words are saying one thing, but our tone of voice is saying another. Are we sending double messages? Our spouse will usually interpret our message based on our tone of voice and not the words we use. Since we have heard, I know somebody has heard it before, you're yelling at me. Like, I'm not yelling at you. Well, it's the tone that you're using, not so much the words. So here, that's what we're talking about. Words of affirmation, humble words, visual dialects. You can go ahead and give these words of affirmation here. So that's what it is. And this is just an example. I'm going to share this and we're going to close out. D. Gibson, I'm waiting for you to tell me. Here, this is kind of saying we made this list as specific as possible. Betty Jo's list looks like this. Okay. This is what they're talking about. With the information, they decided to focus their advice by making only one suggestion to each. So he told Bobby, Joe, and Betty, he's talking to this couple, Bobby, Joe, and Betty separately, that each one held the key to changing the emotional climate of their marriage. That key, I said, is to express verbal appreciation for the things that you like. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Verbal appreciation for the things that you like about the other person. And for the moment, suspending your complaints about the things that you don't. So say things that you do like and then don't say anything that you don't like. This is the example that he's given. So we reviewed the positive comments that they already have for each other and helped each of them write it down. The list of the positive traits. So Bill's list focused on Betty Jo's activities as a mother, housekeeper, and a cook. Betty Jo's list focused on Bill's hard work and financial provision for the family. We made the list as specific as possible. So Betty Jo's list looked like this. He hasn't missed a day of work in 12 years. He is aggressive in his work. He has received several promotions throughout the years. He is always thinking of ways to help improve his productivity. I have to give her this accent because her name is Betty Jo. He makes the house payment each month. He pays the electrical bills and the gas bill and the water bill. He bought us a recreational vehicle 3 years ago. He mows the grass. He hires someone to do it each week in the spring and the summer. He rakes the leaves or hires someone to do it in the fall. No, this isn't a visitor in the live. He provides plenty of money for food and clothing for the family, and he carries the garbage out about once a month. He provides money for me to buy Christmas presents for the family. He agrees that I can use the money I make at my part-time job any way I desire. And Bill's list look like this. She makes the bed every day. She vacuums the house every week. Can we play this game without a mate? Oh, can we play this game without a mate? You know what? I'll put this in the couples retreat. Can you do it without a mate? I think you have to have a mate for what you're saying when you're talking about the game that you're, yes. Well, the game that I was talking about that my parents played, they played husband and wife. They were playing that together. She vacuums. So I guess if you have a significant other, husband or wife or girlfriend, you could play the game. If you have the stuff, I guess you could play it. She vacuums the house every week. She gets the kids off to school every morning with a good breakfast. She cooks dinner about 3 days a week. She buys the groceries. She helps the children with their homework. She transports the children to school and church activities. And then she teaches first grade Sunday school. She takes my clothes to the cleaners. And then she does the washing and some ironing. That, I believe, was his words of affirmation. The point of me reading that to you is what they're saying is that was how he felt that he was affirming her by saying the positive things that she did. But there's far more, so much more that she did that didn't go noted, and things that he did that didn't go noted as well. D. Gibson, are you talking about the game that I was saying my parents played? If your spouse's love language is words of affirmation, number one, you have to remember to remind yourself that words of affirmation is your spouse's primary, that's if their primary love language, right here, language. Print the following on a 3x5 card and put it on the mirror or another place where you will see it daily. Words are important. Words are important. Words are important. For 1 week, keep a written record of all the words of affirmation that you will give your spouse each day. And at the end of the week, sit down with your spouse and review the record. On Monday, I said, you did a great job on the meal. You really look nice in that outfit. I really appreciate you picking up the laundry. On Tuesday, I said, whatever you said. Can we play the game with the mates now? Candy bars. Oh, okay. So listen, what D. Gibson is saying to you all in the chat, can you play the games now? Candy bars and soda, whatever they like, whatever you like. Can we play these games now? So yes, absolutely. You guys can play these games now. Vicky's World, when you get home, find out what it is that your husband like. You're at work, so you may start the game with your husband. And Weekend RVing, you all are together, but you guys may want to play that game. You may have some of these things, candy bar and sodas at the house and start. And this is a very organic way for us to build our relationships stronger, to build that connection, to reconnect us back together again. So yes, absolutely, D. Gibson. I'm so glad that you said that. Yes, we can play those games. And I'd love to hear what you will say, I'd love to hear when we come back together what you all are going to say, that you won. What was their response? How do you think they felt when they saw or heard? What did your husband say when you came home with the surprise? Or what did your wife say when she came home with the surprise, or she received the surprise? Whatever it was. Let me know here. So set a goal to give your spouse a different compliment each day. This is if their spouse's love language is words of affirmation for 1 month. If an apple a day keeps the doctor away, maybe a compliment a day will keep the counselor away. You may want to record these compliments also, so you will not duplicate the same thing. So don't keep saying, I like your hair like that. I like your hair like that. I like your hair like that. Say something else. Don't say, I don't like your hair like that. And then as you read the newspaper, magazines, or books, or watch TV, or listen to the radio, look for words of affirmation which people use. Listen to that. I had a birthday last Sunday, and I do. This is prior to this, but I go in. I don't want to say the same thing. I appreciate you. Oh, thank you so much. I want to say something different. Every person got a different response from me for text messages or whatever messages they put on social media handle to say something positive to me. I didn't want to say the same thing. So the author of the book is saying, listen for ways to affirm. Watch and listen to the radio, magazine, books for words of affirmation if your spouse's love language is words of affirmation. Observe people in conversation, writing those affirmation statements in a notebook. Right now, this would be on your cell phone, in your notebook, in your Apple notebook, or wherever, your Samsung notebook. If there are cartoons, clip and cut and paste them in your notebook. Read through these periodically and then select those that you choose that you would use to your spouse. And then when you use one note, put a date on it that you use it so you don't use the same one again. Then write a love letter. Oh, this is so gooey. Write a love letter, a love paragraph, a love sentence. Yes, with the May. Thank you so much, D. Gibson. We can do it. Those that are in the live, you guys are just listening, but nobody's saying anything back. Do you guys want to play do you want to play these games? In the comment section below, please say yes. Write a love letter, a paragraph, or a love sentence to your spouse and give it to them quietly with fanfare. Chances are when this is kind of sad. They're saying chances are when you're no longer there. So let's just say no longer there, like you just went to work and they find the love letter tucked away in some special place. Those words were important. So they're saying to make sure that you're sharing these words of affirmation. Compliment your spouse in the presence of his parents or friends. You'll get double credit. Your spouse will feel loved, and the parents will feel lucky to have such a great son-in-law or daughter-in-law. Look for your spouse's strengths and look for them, and then tell them how much you appreciate those strengths. Chances are she will work hard to live up to her reputation. So find out what your husband's strength is, or your wife's strength is, and then build on it. Do you want to play the game that you're going to be bringing some things home to your spouse to play? So if they win, they get the prize or the envelope or soda or a candy bar. You want to play, say yes in the chat. I have one yes so far. I'm going to say yes, I will do it. Write a poem describing how you feel about your spouse. If you're not a poet, choose a card on how to express how you feel. Underline special words and add a few of your own at the end. And if you're speaking words of affirmation, if it's difficult for you, then practice in front of a mirror. Use a cue card if you must. And remember, words are important. Words are important. Words are important. Words are important. Why did I say it 3 times? Because the author said it 3 times in there. So there we go. We have hit the 4 love languages. There's 5. We hit 1. We have 4 more. This is going to be an hour. If you're in here, so I guess that means you guys don't want to, and maybe I have a delay. So far, I only have a yes, 1 yes. You guys want to do this? You're not playing it with us, so you're not going to record it. We're not going to see it. We just want you to do it. We want you to build your love language with your spouse. And the note that I needed to put is in the playlist, the couples retreat. And to that, I say thank you so much, Vicky's World, for letting me know that we'll say in couples retreat. This is our virtual couples retreat. So, all right. I guess the 5 that are here, hopefully you all will agree to that. Let me know again in the comment section what you guys think of it, of playing these games when you get with your spouse. Surprise, bring in a surprise, a soda, or a candy bar, and then go in and have an envelope and have them choose envelope or the soda. And if they choose one or the other, when will the next class be? When do you think would be a good day to do the class, D. Gibson? Because I'm going to do it. We're going to finish the 5 love languages. And then I have another one. When do you think, when do you all think I should do the next one? D. Gibson, tell me when you think. Others that are in the live, what do you think would be a good day for me too? And thank you all for being here, for giving the thumbs up and supporting me as I'm here on this journey with you. We have 4 more to go, and then I have another book that I'm going to go ahead and open on the playlist, and that'll be over here because I want to finish strong. I'm not going to procrastinate it. I'm not going to drag it out. We're going to do it. We're going to do it together. We can do it together. Together, we can cause our relationships to thrive and succeed. When do you think I should do the next class, D. Gibson? I will wait. You know, I should probably also get us in at some time. We could have a powwow, get us all together. I have something else. I'm not going to tell you just yet, but I have something else. When you see the next couples retreat, the virtual couples retreat, it's going to be what you are not expecting. It's going to be something exciting. I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting. Because World says, oh, I don't know. I never know what my days will be like because of the holidays. Gotcha. Okay, D. Gibson, what do you think would be a good day? We're just thinking just in general, Vicky's World, of a good day. I don't know. Because we're going to have some fun. I'm thinking, I guess when we'll just keep your notification bells on, everybody. And then once you see the notification and it shows up there, I guess I should probably just change this whole thing, but the love languages, we'll just jump right into it. And we'll start it. Because I was asking you, D. Gibson, but I guess once we get it, then we'll go ahead on and just post it. I don't even know how to post the schedule on there because my channel is still the baby channel, and I don't have a way of shouting it out to say. So I'll just um, in the playlist, I'll put a date that will go on, and that'll be on there. So just check out the uh, couples retreat in the playlist, and then it'll tell you the dates. When we get the dates on there, the day that we'll be on, and you'll be able to see that. So everybody, I want to thank you so much for coming over to hang out with us in the neighborhood. It's been amazing hanging out with you all for this time. Getting some watch time hours in as well. Thumbs up, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much, Vicky's World, for being here with us. D. Gibson, thank you so being. Wait a minute. Did you say under review? Not yet. So not under review yet. I still stuff is going up and down, you know how things are going. So watch time hours, I still have to mix and mingle and invite others to the neighborhood. Right. How are you doing, Vicky, with that? And others need to be invite me to their neighborhood? Right. So that's where that's going. Watch time hours is good, going really well. The other stuff, I feel you. I'm at 65%. See that expression? Oh, how I know. I know. But I'm going to keep, I told you what I was going to do. So I know we'll get it. We'll do it. We'll push through and we'll get the other things taken care of, and we'll take another lap around the neighborhood. So yeah, absolutely. Gotcha. So I'll see you around. Miss Vicky, have a wonderful day. And let me know how that surprise goes for you. And I want to thank you for this because we were gonna just call it the five love languages, but now it's going to be the couples retreat. Thanks to you, Vicky. If you don't have Vicky's World, go over there and check out her channel. Check out my moderators as well. Want to thank you so much again for visiting us in the neighborhood, and we will see you next time, neighbors. See you later. See you later.